Good morning, girlfriends. Good morning. Happy Monday. I hope you rested well last night. I hope you've awoken well this morning and you are off to a great start of your day. And I pray blessings of encouragement and strength and peace over you today. If it is a difficult day, if it's showing to require a lot from you, I pray the Holy Spirit is with you every step of the way, and that you feel God's guidance, and that you feel the burden being lifted off of you to carry everything yourself and to not ask for help. I pray that you are freed from that chain that tells you that you are required to hold it all in or hold it all together, and that going into this week, you receive the blessings of community and you receive the blessing of help. And hopefully this heart check will be just that as well. We are in our July challenge and we are going on a speed walk of faith this month, starting it. So this first heart check that we did with regard to at what speed is your faith walking? And we sat down and made a list of things that God has affirmed for us and gave us visible sight to and the spiritual fortitude to believe in. And we are now running after those things to complete them. We've created our list of that, and we're just girding ourselves up with God's word to be able to attack those things with faith, with hope, with courage, and to fight discouragement, fight shame, fight guilt, fight anything that will come against you, fight temptation, and be able to see victory at the end of those things, at the beginning of what God has next for us. So today, in continuing with that, we are in 3 books here. We're in Malachi 1, Matthew 10, Romans 9. In Malachi here is the priest of Israel had turned away from honoring God with the sacrifices, with the law, the work that they were supposed to be doing for the people, through the people, to God. They were bringing lesser than offerings. They were not doing it with a heart of love. They were doing it with a heart of obligation, with tradition and ritual in mind. And they didn't even feel that they were dishonoring or despising or defiling the altar of God. Going into these new things that we are running after, speed walking towards, we want to make sure that we are honoring God in our practice. So first, God values choices. He values the opportunity to choose. So in Malachi, we see the discussion, again, the reminder of the relationship of Jacob and Esau and how God chose Jacob as his chosen people, and the descendants of him would be blessed. He says, I loved Jacob. He therefore says, I hated Esau, or I chose to not favor him as much. And with that, we want to remember in this season that God's sovereignty makes his choices of how much he blesses one person over the other. I want to start with that because I want to remind you that if you see from left to right that a girlfriend is being blessed more or lesser than you, it's not something to compare yourself to. It's not something to question God's hand. It is to understand that his sovereignty guides his blessings. With that, we want to make sure that we are staying true to, I know I'm being blessed in what God is telling me to do as well. And though it may look different from someone else, he has chosen me, and he therefore values my choice to choose him as well. Secondly, priority is so important to God. It allows for us to then see that priority is important for us to also choose God first. And that takes us to Matthew 10, where he says, if a person values or loves his mother and father more than me, he's not worthy of me. And we have to remember that even though we have other things that we love in this life, God is our ultimate priority. God is where our choices stem from. He is how we decide this is yes. This is how I will honor you, God. I know that this will honor you, God, because you've told me this is how I am to honor you. So I have to prioritize my choices, God being first, and therefore how do I choose to honor him from there? So going back to the priest here in Malachi, it's very important to not start with empty practices. One, because it defiles and it despises him. And second, it's then foolish to then ask for favor after you've given obligatory praise and honor. He honors those who honor him. And it's very important that we're showing him how much we love him in the way that we bring full promises, not defiled, not lame, not sick, not lazy things, but things that show honor, things that are full, things that have been brought with our energy. We have put life into it. We have put time and we have put resources into it. God says, you have the choice to choose me. Choose me by giving me full practices that are not just ritualistic, but have been thought out and that you're excited about because you love me and you know that I love you. Our works do not call us to our position, but God's sovereignty does. So everything that we do needs to be based on pleasing him, on showing him his worth, because his love is what calls us into being. I think a lot of questions come up to like, why is God always asking for so much? He wants us to show him how much he's worth to us, how much we love him, really like building him up. But when someone loves you as earnestly as God does, as unconditional as he does, it should come easily for us to just give ourselves off to him and say, God, here, this is everything that I have, and everything that I have is yours, because I wouldn't have any of it without you. And I want to show you how much you mean to me in this season where I'm tackling the things that you've given me and you've charged me with. And I'm just so honored that you would choose me, that I want to make sure I'm giving it to you, and that my works, I'm not considering my works to be the way I get favor, but I'm saying here are all my works because you're worthy. And because I'm doing it with a pure and honest heart, you will give me favor. I'm not looking for that, but I'm looking for your heart to be connected to mine. And I know because that's my earnest plea that you will honor me with that, because that's just how good of a God that you are. So then we have to remember continuously throughout this month, throughout our life, evaluate our attitude, because worship is the goal. Worship is the ultimate goal here. So it's not missions. It's not letting people see what you've done for the Lord, or even doing things for the Lord to be pompous, but it is worship. If everything else in this list of things that we are considering when it comes to God keeping his promises, our promise is to forever be worshipers. So with my list of things that I'm tackling, Lord, that you've given me foresight to, that you've given me a spiritual oomph to understand and to believe in, I'm worshiping you with my actions. I'm worshiping you with my obedience. I'm worshiping you with my sacrifice. I'm worshiping you to honor you. I don't want to bring anything that's obligatory. I don't want to do anything that's just because, oh, I'm a child of God and I know that this is what children of God do, and therefore let me get myself happy and ready for that. No, you're deserving of worship. If there's anyone on this earth who deserves worship, it's you, Lord, and I want to be the one to give it to you. And remembering that as we are worshiping through this, there will be times where we'll get tired. There will be times where our attitude will be lackluster. There will be times where things happen that we weren't expecting. And we have to remember that God's grace creates fluidity. So that means that when we are going through times and it is difficult for us, we have to remember that everything that we're doing is not going to be perfect. Everything we're doing, there are going to be some parts that fall through, and God's grace fills in those gaps with fluidity, allows us to still be blessed, to still be able to finish, to still be able to complete those things with his grace. He says that I have chosen Jacob, and Esau I have not chosen for favor, but in my love for both of them, there's fluidity for Esau to still be able to enter into the kingdom at the very end. That's a blessed word for all of us, that whatever you're doing here, I've chosen these things for you. This is your list to complete. But whatever may happen, I want you to know that your works do not make you, but your working for me is worshipful. And so I want you to go after that thing, but I want you to also remember that our relationship is based in love, and my grace is fluid enough to fill in the gaps where you're not able to make it. So with all of that in mind, we want to make sure that we're remembering in this time, in this season, in this chapter, in what we're speed walking toward, that we will commit ourselves to not trying to figure out God's hand. He is sovereign. He is Lord. He deserves honor. We will steer clear from questioning why our journey looks particularly and specifically the way that it does. God has predestined you for greatness that you may not understand. And so as you're tackling these things, your purpose is clear, but your callings also, like his grace, are fluid, and things may shift. And so we have to be fluid as well to be able to move with them. And also, our focus is not on the reward. Completing these things is not the reward for us. God's love is the already present prize. Our completing these things is a choice that we have made to show God and honor him with actions. And we continue to choose him with what we do. And this list is one of those things. So taking into consideration that God's heart keeps his promises, our heart is set on keeping promises as well. He's given us his word. He said, this is what I have for you, daughter, to do. And we've said, I've made a choice in my heart to keep a promise to bring this to completion. God's choice brings our choices into reality. Because he chose us, we now have the ability and the blessed favor to go about choosing him. And so I want to encourage you as you go through the muck, as you go through the difficulties, the successes, the late nights, the sleeping in, the early mornings, you don't eat, you should eat, drink enough water. When you go through prayerless nights, when you go through crying prayers, when you're missing devotion, when you're missing your friends, when you are seeking to give in to temptation, but you're fighting sin, I want you to remember God's choice brings our choices into reality. Always thinking back into, God, you chose me first. You chose me first, and I don't want to despise or defile you or bring you dishonor. But with what I do, Lord, I want to bring you honor. I want to bring you praise. I want to bring you worship, and I want to bring you my heart. And so today and the days going forward, we choose you, God. We choose you in these things. We choose you in our hearts, and we choose you because of the choice you made for us. I love you, Curlfriends. But God has equipped you to be able to do it. He has chosen you to be able to do it, and he honors your heart for doing it. I'm very excited for you. I cannot wait till we get to the end of the month where we have testimony and lesson and challenges to share with each other. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will talk with you soon.